All right, let's take a look at the main story that we're looking at this evening. This, as you can see on your screen, is the March 2018 issue of Mathrubhumi magazine Grihalakshmi. It had a picture of a woman breastfeeding a baby on the cover. The caption alongside it in Malayalam said, "Don't stare, we need to breastfeed." So obviously, there were people in the country who sat up and said, "What? How dare you? How dare you use breasts on the cover of a magazine for anything other than titillation?" Some people who could have had more to do if they were gainfully employed actually went to court against that cover, calling it vulgar and obscene. But today, the Kerala High Court said, and I quote, that one man's vulgarity is another man's lyric. The court went on to say that beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder, and so does obscenity, perhaps. I wish I could add that the petitioner could have something better to do with their time and their money. But following that judgment, I put out a simple poll on Twitter today asking, should breastfeeding in public be encouraged? Thousands of votes and counting, but the nature of some of the responses left me wondering. Mr. Banerjee, for example, responded saying, in that case, urination should be allowed in public as well. That's not the same thing. Urinating in public, Mr. Banerjee, is simply unhygienic. Feeding a baby in public is necessary. Mr. Patel says a sari is meant for only that purpose. What happens if the mother in question is not wearing a sari? Or do you insist that all new mothers wear saris alone? Mr. Sandeep Pal, who left a comment saying, please lead by example. Mr. Sandeep Pal, cheap shot. And I'm not even going to dignify that with a response. Satyam says there should be private rooms built because breastfeeding in public places make people uncomfortable. And my response to that, about people being uncomfortable when mothers breastfeed in public, is this poster of this film that is now going to pop up on your screen. This poster of this film doesn't make you uncomfortable. Here, the mammary glands of that young woman are being used to excite those three young men. And you're comfortable for this poster to be plastered all across our country in city buses and in train stations and in malls in front of your children. That's okay. But God forbid if a woman were to use her mammary glands to feed her hungry baby, which I might remind you is exactly what those glands were for to begin with, your sense of decency and propriety and morality are being violated because this hungry baby is refusing to accept your high standards of morality. It insists on being fed immediately. To those who say a woman should feed her baby in private or cover up the child, I say this. As a country, we encourage women to breastfeed exclusively for the first 6 months, which means don't give your baby anything other than breast milk. A baby needs to be fed every 2 or 3 hours in the first 6 months, which means that either a new mother should never ever leave her house. But if she does leave her house, what happens when the baby is hungry in a bus or a train or even the doctor's waiting room? What is a mother to do? Sometimes the only private space available is the corner of the ladies' washroom. But ask yourself this, would you eat your lunch in the corner of a public toilet? Or would you eat your lunch with your head covered in a hot, humid country like India just so you don't offend anyone? Should we, as responsible members of society, make women comfortable to breastfeed whenever and wherever the child needs to be fed? Or instead, should we make it an issue of morality and obscenity? Is it an issue of morality at all? It's an issue of hunger and of necessity. That's the question we are asking today. Should we step aside from morality and simply look at breastfeeding as someone having lunch? Should we encourage more women to think of this as a natural, free process of someone having lunch? That's the question we're asking today. Our phone lines are open. Twitter is open as well. So is involved.in.